Hello all, Chris Bungie here, back with another video on Hallowtide. Today we'll be looking at how to read hunter profiles and how to build die pools to perform actions in the game. For today's video, all the hunters we'll be using are from the quick play rules you can find for free at blackskystudios.com. In the fuel rules, you will have a robust character creation system and you can build the unique hunters that you want to play. For today, let's go ahead and start off with your big brutish fighter, Conrad. First things first, the homeland. This is where your character hails from. It's going to set your base attribute levels as well as give you unique talent. Flavor-wise, the Hallowed Lands are a repressive theocracy ruled by a paranoid church and their army of inquisitors. They are empire of faith. This is reflected by Conrad's higher conviction, but lower perception, and his devout talent, which by the force of faith allows him to resist some stress. Class is the Zealot. They're manic warriors willing to endure horrible punishment in order to take the battle to their enemies. And rank. All hunters you hear are rank 1. Rank is the first quality we encounter that's going to add to your die pool. It's going to add to everything your character does. It's ranked from level 1, which corresponds to D4, to level 5, which corresponds to D12, the higher being better. Rank 1 hunters represent novices. The wet behind the ears, still shaking, still getting used to all this. Well, a level 5 legendary hunter has many kills under their belt and has more than proven themselves. And that experience is reflected on every roll they make. Size. All hunters are size 2. This matters a little bit when it comes to things like cover and line of sight. Speed, how many inches your character moves during a stride action. In this case, 5 inches. Conrad is a little slower because of that heavy plate, so he only moves 4. Damage threshold, how much punishment your character can suffer before they are knocked or slain. Stress threshold, how much stress your character can suffer before they risk panicking and losing it. There are 5 attributes over here in Hallowtide. Agility is physical quickness and coordination. Might is strength and toughness. Conviction is mental fortitude and willpower. Insight is problem solving and book learning. And perception is sensory acuity and ranged combat. As you can see, 2 is standard, and it corresponds to that D6 die code. While higher conviction is a D8, lower perception is a D4. Every test a hunter makes is going to involve one of their attributes they called on. And you add your rank first, and then a die appropriate to that attribute. Let's get to talents. These are unique abilities that set your character apart from their fellows. Conrad has a Berserker talent that comes from his Zealot class, which means as long as he has damage equaling or exceeding half his damage threshold, he gets a nice D6 bonus to every strike action and inflicts bonus damage from pure rage. He also has the Devout talent, raising his stress threshold by 1, again, from belief. Equipment. What items your characters carry. All items are rated like attributes from a quality item level of 1, we're back to shoddy, poor quality, to level 5, which is legendary masterwork equipment. As a rank 1 hunter, Conrad kind of has to use anything he'll lay his hands on, and everything he has is level 1. Has a great axe, which is a melee weapon. It's going to give him he's going to add that item level to every strike he makes, so he adds a D4 to every strike with it, and inflicts bonus 2 damage. He also gives him a unique action of hack. Any axe class weapon has this ability. You can use just both the side action and main action. We'll get to actions later. But you can spend those actions to attack every enemy around you in a nice whirlwind arc. Has a healing potion. Can take it with a drink action to cure 2 health. Finally, durable plate. Level 1, very rusty. However, it does add a D4 to every defense roll you make. It's still armor. But it has the physical resistance quality, reduced damage by 1, but it's heavy, slowing you down, and loud, making it harder to hide. Then we're going to go to Agate, who in many ways is the exact opposite of Conrad. She is a witch from the Murmurwald, the haunted, echoing forest, and she's one of the haunted, which means she can channel spirits and form pacts in order to generate powerful magical abilities. And has some unique talents to reflect that. One first is leadership. This actually does not come from her class or her homeland. Once you finish creating your entire crew, you're going to select someone to be your leader. This is the most important talent in the game, because when a leader finishes their activation, every hunter within 6 inches in the line of sight is going to heal 1 stress, including the leader. Doesn't sound like a lot. That's crucial to mitigating the stress of your team. However, if your leader drops or panics, your entire team suffers additional stress. So you want to protect them, lest your entire group rout. Finally, Bone Stitcher. This comes from the Haunted class and allows her to summon the powers of a potent healing spirit. We'll get to how Invocations work in a later video. It's one of the more complicated actions, but I want to show you how it's reflected in a talent. And that talent gives a phantom, which has that long line of text here. We'll interpret that later. Equipment-wise, the Gate has a level 2 bow, a level 2 reliquary, which gives her bonus on invocation actions. So slightly higher quality, clarity potion to heal a little stress. But she was wearing no armor at all. It's trade-off there. So now that we've covered how hunters work, let's look at how to build those die pools. So we looked at how quality is everything in Reddit. So the example I always use whenever I teach this game, once I show people how the different attributes, I have one hunter attack another hunter, because that is the best way to illustrate how the rules work. So as you can see, a Gate is going to be using a bow attack. And it's going to start with her rank. That's D4. You'll find D4 in all the hunters here. That D4 is from that rank. And so every test they make, always add the rank. Then a D6, that comes from the quality item of the bow, level 2, D6. Finally, a D8 for her level 3 perception. Conrad has a D4 for his rank, a D4 for the item quality of the armor, and a D6 for his own agility. Now, in this hypothetical roll, a Gate rolled a 1, 4, and 8, and Conrad rolled a 2, 3, and 5. A Gate would immediately suffer 1 stress for that 1 she rolled. Remember, every action a character takes has a chance to cause stress. But 4 and 8, she uses the 2 highest, adds them together to determine what's called the result number. So no matter how big a die roll is, you only ever add together the 2 highest to determine the result number. So her result number would be a 12. Conrad, no stress here, however, only has a result number on our end of an 8. So Conrad would get hit. Then, when it comes to the acting, when a character taking the action, they then count up the pushes of it. In this case, for any die showing 4 or better is considered a 1 push, and this is for the entire roll, not just the dice used for the result number. So, for this case, a 4 and 8 would be every die 4 or better, 1 push. Every die 8 or better is 2 pushes. A 12 would be 3 pushes. So in this case, the Gate has 3 pushes plus a built-in 1 damage for the bow and inflict 4 damage to Conrad, reduced by 1 because of armor. If a Gate had rolled an additional, this die had been a 4, that would have added an additional push, even though it was not calculated in their result number. So that's a simple roll. Let's make things a little more complicated and say that a Gate was firing through cover and that Conrad had something between him and her. And she suffers a D8 Bane because of that. This is how Bane dice work. Conrad, on the other hand, is going to do what is called an exert, willingly suffering stress in order to give him a better chance of success. In this case, Conrad suffers all 3 stress to add a D8 to his pool. No matter how much stress you can spend, you'd only add a maximum, of 1 additional die. So we re-roll this. We still have the 1, 4, 8, but that 6, the Bane die result is a 6. Now, Bane die, after you suffer stress and everything, Bane die then cancels a die out of equal or lesser value, the highest die it can. So in this case, that 6 would steal that 4, leaving a Gate with a 9. Now, Conrad, on the other hand, has a 7-5 that he gets to keep, giving him the result of 12 this time and allowing him to avoid the attack. So this is an example of how die pools work for attack and defense, but similar method is used for every other action taken in the game. You use your rank, you lose your attribute, use any equipment you have, and you may choose to exert spending stress to add additional die. Hope this was helpful for you and gives you an idea how these base mechanics work. We're going to build on that in subsequent videos. Hope you join us again soon.